Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Hi everyone, I'm Eric Elkins, host of the Shrimp Tank Charleston show. Today we have in the Double E Insurance and Financial Studios, Tanner Sutton, founder of Free Fly Apparel. Hear how Free Fly became one of America's fastest growing apparel companies in the U.S. Hear his story next on the Shrimp Tank Charleston. Double E helps individuals and companies navigate through the complex world of financial and insurance portfolios. The Shrimp Tank Charleston show allows us the opportunity to interview and learn from the brightest entrepreneurs and leaders around. We hear their stories and discover what drove them to become so successful. We are a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Spotify. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com/Charleston, or check us out on the Double E website, www.double-ellc.com. I use the Shrimp Tank Charleston platform to continue elevating and enhancing my life as well as our clients' lives. Whether it's from networking or connecting our clients with our Shrimp Tank guests like a Tanner Sutton today, to opening doors for investment opportunities, to just learning from overachievers like this gentleman today. If you would like to schedule a call with myself or one of our advisors to learn more about how we help individuals and companies navigate through the world of insurance, financial, and retirement solutions, then please email us at info@double-ellc.com. That's DOUBLEELLC.com. We want to serve you. All right, so we're sitting here talking to Tanner Sutton, one of the co-founders of Free Fly Apparel. And right before we went to break, we were talking about how you kind of started instituting the whole bamboo ingredient as a strong source for the material. And so how old are you when you're testing this whole thing to figure out to really get Free Fly starting to propel?
How old was I when I started?
When you're doing this testing and you're
24 years old.
Okay, so you're 24. I'm curious, when you say you start using, you hear about or you start using bamboo as one of the materials, how do you test that kind of stuff? Like, I help me understand, how do you make, I know people make shirts or clothing, but how do you start saying to the manufacturer, I want 20% bamboo, 30% satin? Do you use satin on the clothes too?
No, I whether it's a good thing or bad thing, I was pretty naive when it came to the whole manufacturing process. But I think the thing I had going for me is, as a fly fishing guide, I was the end user of it, so I knew what the ultimate solution I wanted. And I literally, when I would test fabrics and shirts, like I would go wear a shirt, like a long sleeve black shirt, to a hot yoga class even, and be like, how does this feel comfort wise? How does it feel when I'm dripping sweat, or I'd go on a run, or I'd be on the boat all day? And so I kind of went straight to like, what would our target customer think of this? And then,
are you just buying random things out there?
No, I mean, working with a family source of manufacturing and having them send me fabrics, and she, our main source, who's a great family friend still, just did a million favors for us and would do these little one-off different, the same long sleeve shirt in 20 different fabrics.
Really?
And I'd go test it, and I'd see what friends thought of it, and would just say yes or no, and then she'd help reverse engineer of what needs to change to make it feel better and perform better.
When you would do that, and let's just say you were like, oh God, I think this is it, I love it, this feels great, and then I know the kind of character you are. You're a great listener. You ask a lot of questions. You act way beyond your age. I mean, you're what, 35, 34? When they would say, when someone like me would go, I don't like this. Back then, were you like, how do you not like this? Or were you like, okay, tell me why, or like, because you seem like the type that would just keep questioning, help me understand, and not being upset about it when you got sold on it. That's one of the reasons why I think you're so successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think, especially in the background going in a family business, like you got to have thick skin and whether it's personal opinions or real facts. I mean, you just got to be curious and know that you're working towards something even better. But yeah, I mean, I think people that have the same interests that I did or like the same activities and live the same lifestyle, those are the pieces of advice that I would, really trust and say, yeah, that there's some weight to that. But it would be a close circle of friends. I wasn't sending it to hundreds of people, but, I would, whoever's like a fly fishing guide down here in Charleston, I would, a buddy of mine who's a guide, I'd throw a couple hoodies on him or long sleeves and ask him what he thought of it. And I think people were interested and say like, man, I've never felt something like this before. So it was a fun process.
And so when you finally find that recipe for what's comfortable, you still have a full-time job.
Yep. I was, well, not full. I mean, as an independent sales rep, so your own hours, but I eventually when I decided to order, I said, this is the right fabric. I had to order minimums. I think we started off with some long sleeves, some short sleeves, and then like some graphic tees, which is some name branding on it. And so once that PO arrived to Charleston, and I literally arrived at a house I was renting, and we were storing inventory in the basement. From there, I was like, okay, well now I got to go sell. So I put everything else aside, and I thought we were going to be, I was targeting the fly fishing space because that's what I knew. And so I put a bunch of shirts in the back of my truck and drive to consumer fishing shows and
really
sling them on weekends. And that was another piece of, user testing and feedback to see what people thought of it. And then, and it had some good early success and met some other sales reps in different parts of the country. And they said, hey, it's, I only have 3 products, but I'd be interested in repping this and going sell it to retail stores. And so that's, for the first year, that's pretty much how we made money, of just going to consumer shows.
And so when you remember, like I invested, it cost me, I'm making this up, $20,000 to make the shirts that I made. And we ended up closing and making 80. Like, do you remember what you did that year?
I think our first year it was like $100,000 total.
And what was the cost to make the shirts?
You can use probably 20% of that.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow. And so, and see, everybody thinks that it's so easy to just build a company. Mm. And you need to also realize, here's a gentleman who is driving to trade shows and saying, please put this on, tell me what you think. And just doing it one by one. It just didn't happen for you like that.
No, it was a grind.
All right. So then you're like, when is it where you're like, I'm done. I'm not going to rep any more lines. I'm just going to focus on Free Fly. Did you have the name Free Fly then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
How did you come up with Free Fly?
I went through a million different versions, and I was like, one of the core principles of the brand is freedom, of just feeling like, you're unrestricted from what you're doing or what you're wearing. So, that, and then fly fishing is like Free Fly is kind of just a sticky name. And
did you come up with it? Mm-hmm. It's awesome. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's
and I love if you look at the logo, I love the logo.
Well, our first logo was different, and I was not a huge fan of it, but I needed a logo to start. It was like lowercase and had this weird line going around the text, and we used to put our logo on the shoulder of shirts right here, and I cringe when I still see some of those shirts walking around town. But we switched probably 4 or 5 years in. We came up with this logo, and it's resonated well.
So I have a Free Fly hat, mm-hmm. and I won't wear hats, mm-hmm. and I play golf, but I can only wear your Free Fly hat. If I've got to wear a cap, it's the only cap I can wear, because I get headaches mm-hmm. from wearing caps. It just doesn't. So I never wear them. But your cap is the only cap I can wear that I'm comfortable wearing an actual cap, which again it goes into the whole story of how other people talk about your shirts, mm-hmm. your pants, all this stuff. I mean, you do have this, and it's amazing that people, whether they're in Charleston, South Carolina, or Bozeman, Montana, how fun is it that people know, and you, like when you're in Montana and people are wearing your stuff, mm-hmm. How cool is that?
It's cool. I mean, there's those pinch me moments early on when you'd be like, we're not a national brand, but you'd be traveling somewhere and it'd be like a music festival and see someone wearing it. You're like, I want to go shake this guy's hand. Thank you. You know?
Do you go and say anything to people, or is it just too much now? Because you would be talking to people left and right. Because there's so many. I see Free Fly all the time now.
Yeah. I can't remember. Someone on our marketing team 5 years ago, we came up with this idea. It's kind of awkward to have those conversations. So we came up with this idea of found you in your Free Fly cards. And so it's like a little business card, but it's like, thank you for your support, and here's a little discount off your next order. So it's an easy icebreaker. And instead of saying, hey, I like what you're wearing, and thank you, I'm part of the company. So it was a nice, like a little customer service, personal touch thing.
Well, you never given me any of that crap.
Well, that's because you pay full price.
Yeah, you're like, oh, well, you live on Sullivan's. You can pay for that.
That's right.
For that stuff. All right, so when you start the company and it's full-time, you're still working out of the house?
Still working out of the house. So one of our...
You still one in, was just you?
It was me and our foot in the door to get in a bunch of these fly shops. I had, a few reps selling it to fly shops. The foot in the door for us was, I came from my family's printing background, and I said, why don't we print like your store logo? We'll offer a printing service and have low minimums, which turned out to just be a nightmare because it's printing on, we have a hard fabric to print on, but it's also like now we're just printing other people's stuff, like not anything to do with our own brand. So I got this little digital printer that was in my bedroom and hired a college kid for the summer to, once we'd get orders in, he'd literally one by one print shirts and fold them on my bed. And we're shipping out orders to, fly shops around the country that put their logo on, and it was cool, but it wasn't scalable because if you mess up a print on a $50 shirt, that's an expensive mistake. And we, quickly realized that the fly fishing industry was pretty small, it's pretty niche, and printing stuff was not going to be a scalable business. So that's when, about a year and a half in, we're like, okay, well, my sister started helping me in the nights and weekends when her and her husband were at Nike for 10 years doing product marketing. And
in Oregon?
In Oregon, yeah. And she just had an interest of it and wanted to help her little brother. So she gave a lot of good feedback on creating some more non-fishing styles for both men and women. And that was a turning point to say, let's go more after outdoor active industry. There's more opportunity there. So that was a big shift in saying no printing and not just only fly fishing. And so that's that I think was the early start of her interest, my interest. Her husband was at Nike, and he they're both getting burnt out, and so they in 2013 came down here and saw the operation in person, and took them to do all the fun things you do in Charleston of fishing, and we over drinks one night at Home Team Barbecue, gave them like two of the big game changers, and I just
on Sullivan's or
on
where?
Sullivan's, yeah. And I presented the idea of like, guys, I can't do this on my own, but I probably wouldn't do it with someone.
Are you making money? Are you paying? Are you living any kind of extravagant life at this time, or is
No.
You're just paying bills?
Paying bills. And I mean, we were making money, but not a lot. But there were some cool early success stories from some of the retailers that were like, man, I'm seeing really strong sell through. And
how are you dealing with the demand? Like, is that an issue? Having to, hey, I want 100,000 shirts or whatever they ask for.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had that problem back then, but no. I mean, it was on such a small scale. Like, we didn't have and we were small independent specialty stores, so there wasn't a demand issue or a supply issue at that point because we just had enough shirts to sell, and it was a very simple business. But we're seeing some early traction, and thought that, okay, this is market validated that this could go somewhere, and the timing worked out right, and I ended up asking them if you guys wanted to be partners in the business, and they fast forward 5-6 months later, they really decided that they wanted to leave the corporate life and quit their jobs at Nike on the same day and move down here, and so it was just the three of us at that point.
Really? Mm-hmm. And then is that when? Do the three of you all have your special niche of your gifts of what you're
We do. We all three have marketing degrees, but we all have three different personalities and different skill sets within that. So I was the only first sales guy, and so I fell into sales. And my sister, her last job at Nike was on the digital side, and so she really helped get our e-commerce business off the ground. And she also played a hand in women's product development. And then my brother-in-law Austin is like the most detail-oriented person in the world, so. He had to quickly learn finances and accounting because no one else wanted to do it.
Really?
And then he's great with details on product too. So we all had our buckets, and we still wear those hats now. But yeah, it was all three of us shoved into one room, and we were all pulling orders for the first year until we started hiring staff and going a little deeper.
How long did it take when you're starting to now hire beyond the three of you? After they came on board.
Yeah, when they came on board, I guess we had one part-time person, and then like a year later, it was 2, and then 5 and 10, and it just.
And in terms of acceleration of growth, what kind of percentage-wise did it change? Like from 13 to 15, how much did the company grow over those 2 years?
We were seeing a triple-digit growth every year. So
really,
you're going off of a really small scale, but yeah, it was as we brought new products out and we expanded to having a women's business and doing more in outdoor than fishing, and we were one of the early adopters of Facebook advertising and getting a good e-commerce site up and running. So all those factors helped because it was a small base, and it was fun. It was scrappy, and there were hard, lean days. But
and have you met Ristine at this time?
Well, I knew Ristine growing up. She actually used to
Ristine being his wife.
My wife, yeah. She used to actually play tennis against my sister growing up in Montana, and we all would travel to different tournaments together. And so I knew of her, but it wasn't until we started expanding distribution out to where she was living in Austin, Texas, at the time, in I think 2014 that we reconnected, and then eventually I convinced her to move out here a year later.
And Ristine, just to give her some props, I absolutely love your wife. She's like the sweetest, and so are you. But your wife is so amazing. She's awesome.
I agree.
She always has a smile on her face. She's a beautiful woman. You got 2 beautiful girls. But I want to prop because she won't give herself props. She's a absolutely phenomenal tennis player who played in the NCAA championship for Texas, correct?
Yep.
Did they win or did they?
They took second to Stanford, but yeah, she's by far the best athlete in our family, and hopefully our girls get her abilities.
Well, it doesn't sound like it's bad for you either. I mean, like if they get your gene for a tennis player and whatever the hell else you probably can stab a bull or something. I mean, who knows what the hell you can do? I can't do anything. I'm a professional television watcher. That's what I'm really good
a
at.
Podcast host.
Well, thanks for that. It's
course.
not my full-time job, but right. So the company is starting to explode. Give me is the margin still staying as high, or are you seeing the revenue going up and the margins going down? Like, where is the struggle when you have that much growth?
A couple things. I mean, I think when you start looking at big inventory buys and manufacturing overseas, there's long lead times, and you're having to pay down on POs early, so cash flow is an issue. But we were lucky that we pretty much we've still bootstrapped it today with a line of credit with the bank, and so had to navigate some of those issues. But I think the
bank ever call you on those loans?
No, we're okay. Yeah,
because I believe that banks in the very near future, if you got a line of credit, if you think they're not going to call you, they're going to call. That's my belief. Because I think we're about to go into something totally different.
I would agree. But the big difference maker of we started the business all a wholesale business, so selling just to retailers. But once we got our direct consumer e-commerce business up and running and ramping up, that was a great way to make a way better margin on products and not rely on other people to sell it, and however successful they are means you are. We could dictate the the message and the story, and that was a great way to get early feedback and just be able to speak directly to the customer and you're not waiting on net 90 days to get paid on stuff. You're making it, right away.
So the Dell computer model, and so today, because you're still in plenty of retailers.
Yeah.
I mean, I see that. So I'm curious, if we take 100% of your revenue, and I won't dive into what your revenues are because you're a very private person, I won't do that. But if I take your percentage of revenue, what percentage is retail versus e-commerce? I guess would that be the two segments?
Yeah, wholesale and e-commerce.
Okay.
It's majority e-commerce. It's flexed, the last 3 or 4 years, but yeah, I mean, it's somewhere around a 75 split, 75-25.
What about men versus women?
60 men, 40 women.
Really? 40 on women?
Which is another big opportunity, even looking ahead, that my sister's big passion was like all outdoor brands get it wrong when it comes to women's clothing. They do the shrink it and pink it model, and it's just terrible fitting and boxy. And so being able to have good cuts and colors and styles that are flattering, there's still a huge opportunity there. And now we're starting to get in the kids business. So it's fun to explore these new ones, but still staying focused on like the same principles we started.
I want to give props out. When you go to your website, there's this woman, very attractive, with another attractive man. I don't care about the guy, but the girl is obviously very attractive. Is that a relative, family member? Who is that woman?
Well, I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
I'll show you all for, but she's like athletic. Luckily, Jen's not going to listen to the show. Ristine is going to listen, but Jen won't. She has like athletic legs.
Yeah,
and she's just really.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So the interesting part about
do you need a senior model? Do you need me for?
I'm looking for male underwear models at the moment. The funny thing about photo shoots and models and things like that was something that I was like early on. I was like, want to have a really good brand photography, and it can't look posed and things like that. So we've even till today, like we work with people that actually not professional models. They're just friends that are good looking and active. That we go out there and we'll go to a photo shoot somewhere like Bahamas or Costa Rica or Montana, and we've done a lot of planning behind the scenes, but our friends that are the models, they feel like they're on vacation, and we're just throwing them products. But they say do what you normally do on a fun surf or fishing trip, but we'll follow you along the way. And so it comes out in photos too. It looks like an authentic experience.
She's great. I don't know who she is, but props out to her because you picked good models, especially to make a woman want to buy those because she's not 80 pounds,
right?
And I'm sure guys like the 80-pound woman, but I'm not into that. Okay, so the company is blowing up. You have diversified into women's clothes, men's clothes, and when is it where you're like, how I want to be, not only were you all over the U.S.? Like, did you have your revenue coming primarily from certain states or certain areas?
Yeah, I mean, the Southeast is still number one, just in our backyard here. But we started seeing some great success in like the South Central area, the Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, that region. And then Rockies, just because we grew up in Montana, just knew the shops and knew what the demand looked like there as well. So those are the three territories that have always been strong, and we're now trying to grow more of like Midwest and Pacific Northwest more. But we knew the Southeast, if we had to make our backyard our best area to have a great local following before we go too far out west or anywhere else.
As you're building this, and because you're obviously building this name recognition, a brand that comes to mind that I see is Huck. H-U-K. Are they like a fishing line?
Huck, yeah, they're a fishing brand.
Okay, so that's like a competitor to you, or what?
Yeah, I mean they're in the fishing industry, and I think it's much different, fabric blend, and I think it's a little bit different of a market. But yeah, I mean they would be one that's competing for floor space in the store, or they're trying to market to anglers.
Okay, so where I'm going, I'm not trying to give them any. This is not about Huck at all. Okay, they suck. Okay, what I'm going is, are you starting to get phone calls from guys like that saying we want to buy Free Fly?
No. I mean, we knew we had a long ways to go or things to accomplish to ever think about that. But I mean, my folks were in a business for 30 years, and we liked the lifestyle of being able to own your business and raise your kids and all that. So it wasn't something that was high on our radar.
So you weren't getting that. So then, where do you go? You want to scale to a level where you go, we're going to bring in outside investor to participate in this to help with the growth. Or do you even go there?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it over the years, and still feel like there's a lot to accomplish before that ever we're going to happen, or at least go see if it's an opportunity for us. We were fortunate. COVID was one of the, I feel bad saying it, one of the best things that happened to our business, because we had a product that was very applicable to being outside or working from home, or just comfortable clothes. And so we saw huge growth from 2021, and at the end of last year, we weren't shopping for anything like that, but we actually had a small family office based in Montana reach out to us, and one thing led to another, and they have became a minority partner in the business, and they're very behind the scenes, but they have a great group of industry veterans that give awesome advice and have helped us think about scaling a business in a way that it's so far outside of our expertise.
Yeah, I'm curious. So when you have these guys come and be almost like mentors / advice givers, investor or whatever, give me an example of something that comes to mind if you can. If you can't, then we'll move on. Where you say, this was an idea that was brought up by one of these people that I would have never thought about, that was just like, wow, that's strong. Mm-hmm. Because I'm curious, because I've dealt with I've dealt with private equity, I've dealt with venture capitalists, and I would say a lot of times I'm let down that I don't get it. But then there is sometimes those nuggets where you're like, God, I would have never thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, again, whoever that is that you're working with, before you get in bed with it, it is like a marriage where you're dating before you got to build that trust. And we built that trust very quickly and spent a lot of time around these folks. And I think an example that comes to mind was, we've been heavily reliant on a single family manufacturing supply chain for a lot of years. And when things like COVID happen and there's factory shutdowns, that's scary to be, not diversified, to have another factory to go to. So that was a early idea from them of just helping diversify.
Was that chain before COVID even hit?
We started some conversations before COVID, but like when COVID hit, we're like, man, there's a ton of brands that couldn't get any inventory. All their factories were shut down. We luckily ours were operating and we could still get product. And but it was eye opening to know that what could happen could you ruin your business overnight. And so then we started knocking on other doors to make sure we had other supply chain, other opportunities for manufacturing.
Was that kind of scary, because you're like, I'm so used to, I know these guys who manufacture this for us, they're like family, where what they say is real, is true. And then now I'm going to work with this group over here I've never even worked with before.
Well, luckily, and that's when, whether it's our employees in-house that we've hired from other brands, or, any kind of advisors, they had the personal relationships with them that had built trust over years. And so that's what we had to go on and say, let's try this. Let's start the relationship and see how it goes.
So it worked out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Guys, you're listening to the Shrimp Tank Charleston podcast. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. We're talking to Tanner Sutton, co-founder of Free Fly, co-owner, whatever, sales guru, lover, all these kind of things. But we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What if I told you that a performance shirt could be equally technical and ridiculously comfortable? At Free Fly, we made it our mission to keep you comfortable while doing the things you love outside. Our secret sauce? Proprietary fabric blends made from bamboo. Beyond being buttery soft, bamboo has natural UPF protection, wicks moisture, and has antimicrobial properties. Welcome to the new world of performance apparel. Comfort on, adventure out.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning into the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, and we've been talking to Tanner Sutton of Free Fly Apparel in the Double E Studios today, and we were talking about learning from mentors and gurus and building this apparel company that you have built that so name recognition, not only in South Carolina, but throughout I know throughout the U.S. I don't know. Are you doing any business outside the U.S.?
Not much, no.
Is it a goal that you're trying to go
down
to?
the road? I think there's still a lot of opportunity here, though.
What's the odds? Like, you know how they'd say if you start a restaurant, the odds are terrible that it'll make it.
Yep.
What's the odds of making it in an apparel business?
I don't know those exact numbers. I know it's...
Why don't you know that?
Because...
Can we get a new guest, please? Can we stop the interview?
I think it's rare that you maintain profitability for sure, and scale and still, being a family company, don't hate each other and all those things. Like a lot of things got to go right, but we've been fortunate. We've had definitely a lot of good breaks, but we've had amazing people. I mean, our staff's like, if you ask any of us owners, our proudest accomplishments by far are people. Like, we just have really, really smart people that have helped.
Are you doing anything special on how you're hiring those people and trying to vet them and figure out, are they going to be the right people on the bus?
Yeah, we are very deliberate and slow in our hiring process to make sure that they're a right fit from a culture standpoint. And the first thing we tell everyone is, you check your ego at the door and have a very just great, young, energetic, positive culture. But I think over the last 11 years of doing this, you can pretty quickly find out if someone's going to be a good fit or not in the interview process. But it's not easy, and especially in this market right now, it's finding great talent that has experience in our industry. There's not a lot of outdoor brands in Charleston, so it's been tough.
Are you bringing them from? Are they moving here?
A lot of like our more senior hires are moving here, and we work with recruiters to help with that process.
Which is at least a good thing that you're located in Charleston, because that's such a great place to be able to move to.
Yep. And
live. If I had to ask you, I want to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to give the chance. We have some subscribers that I guess are they're obviously fans of mine, but they're also fans of yours, where they have some questions. So I'm going to get into that, and then we're going to call it a day, because I love your story, and I could talk to you all day, and we will talk all day. We just won't talk on tape all day. But if you had to say, what does it look like? What does Free Fly look like in 5 years? Give me what that vision looks like to you.
Yeah. We actually just been doing a lot of 3-year planning recently. A big goal for us, there was a article written about us end of last year from publication, and they described us as like a niche Southeast fishing outfitter. And I was kind of bothered by it, because I was like, we do so much more than fishing, and we're not just Southeast. Our product's applicable, everywhere around the country, no matter what activity you're doing.
Yeah.
And
who the hell was this publication? Because I don't even fish. I play golf. I'm a professional television watcher, and I absolutely love your apparel.
Well, I appreciate that. Some people maybe have differing opinions, or who knows? It was one person's opinion, but the point there is, I think from a end user standpoint, or from a anyone else in the marketplace looking at our brand, we definitely want to be a 4-season brand that's nationally recognized and well distributed around the country. And whether you're someone that lives in Maine or Colorado or South Carolina, that we have something for every season of the year for you from head to toe. And we're competing with all the other big national brands. And so I think there's a lot of distribution expansion and the way that we present our brand from a content standpoint, of not just on flats boats in Charleston to all the different activities that go with it. So there's a lot of room to grow there from a national presence standpoint. So that's definitely a big one.
Are you a public company?
No.
You're not?
No.
I know you're not now, but that's not one of the driving goals.
No.
Okay.
No.
And all right, so what about do you think the business attire, the suit, the tie, you think we're just going to be in a little downtime where, like, we don't have to do that right now, but you think it'll come back?
I hope not. I hate suit and tie.
So you will never go into that business?
No.
So I can't count on those clothes coming from you.
No, we wear jeans at weddings in Montana.
I know, but unfortunately, sometimes I'm fine with it. I love this is casual for me, so I'm happy that it's at least this instead of the suit and tie.
Dressed up today.
Well, you look great. This is all free fly.
Yeah.
I mean, look at you. Look at these muscles on this gentleman.
They are.
It's unbelievable.
Rather large.
All right. Let's take some questions from some subscribers that have written some stuff in here. I have not vetted these questions. Kristen just handed them to me that came in through email. First question is from Darren from Highland Park, Illinois, which had a terrible thing happen a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So we're thinking about you guys in Highland Park. If you started Free Fly today, what would you do different? It's a good question. What would you do different that you have learned from the get-go? Or were you perfect from the get-go?
No. If I did it today, I think one thing that would have been very helpful early on, which you just don't know what you don't know when you start a business, but creating more of like a brand guide of like, here's our brand Bible of everything that we stand for from a value standpoint, and be able to put all of business decisions through that filter to understand our why and communicate that for everything that we do. You just fly by the seat of your pants because you're just trying to survive early on. But those are things that took like 10 years to develop of trying to, whether it's your principles on your product or the way that you market your brand or whatever it is, it would have made it a lot easier for, hiring staff or, explaining what we do to a retailer. It was, I'm glad things worked out the way they did, but those are some things that are early of like, just, man, I need to be a little more buttoned up here. And I didn't know that at the time. I've definitely learned by every mistake in the book.
That's a great response to that, because I feel like I struggle with that in my business. So I get where you're going with that, because you have the vision and what the principles and values are, and then we sometimes just do a terrible job constantly translating it. Like you mentioned freedom. Like I don't even know that free for freedom was one of those things.
Right.
All right, Bob and Maureen, they're very loyal listeners from Pittsburgh, PA. What is your biggest strength in business, and what is your biggest weakness in business?
Another good question. I think our strength is...
This is yours.
Oh, mine, personally.
Yours, yes.
Oh.
They said, what is Tanner's biggest strength?
Okay.
They didn't say that, but I'm saying it.
Yeah. I think for me, as the founder of the brand, when we just got going, and the idea I had for the brand and the vision for it, which still holds true today, of just who we are and what we stand for, I think being able to navigate what are the right decisions for the brand, what are the right marketing channels, is this on brand or is this not on brand? To me, I got to be the protector of the brand, and I got to know if that just feels off or it's not quite right.
You're very comfortable when it comes to those decisions like that.
It's
okay.
It's easy. Those are the things that I really enjoy, because I want to make sure that we're not doing something or trying to, just be everything to everyone, and we stand for something, and I want to make sure we maintain that path. Weakness, I'm not as organized as I'd like to be, and that's partly because I've stretched in a lot of different departments of, leadership, running the business, of, wear a hat in the wholesale side of the business and the brand side of the business, and so I have a hard time. We talked about that essentialism book before we jumped in here, of just being laser focused on the right things at the right time. It's hard to juggle a lot of balls for me and compartmentalize everything, and then go home to my wife and kids and focus on them completely. It's hard to stay organized, and it's a constant struggle.
I think it's so hard for so many people. I'm going to tell you what I think. What I've witnessed, one of your biggest strengths is your listening skills, but also you just are gifted with this trust, this aura of, I can trust Tanner Sutton. Like
thanks.
there's just that. And then I can also tell you one of your weaknesses.
Let's hear it.
You're worse at responding to a text than I am, which is really bad. Can you believe that? He's worse than me.
I don't know. I saw your your phone was on the table here. I think there's like 300 unread text messages. So yeah, I am not a great text.
And
responder.
your wife is terrible too at it too. So both of you, that's your weakness.
Thank
All
you.
right, John from Columbia, South Carolina writes, "What do you worry about consistently about your business? What keeps you up at night?" Especially right now.
Yeah, I mean, global economy, supply chain, all those things that you can't, the things that worry you, the things you can't control, which again, why would I worry about things I can't control? But those are the things that could have, forever lasting impacts on the business. I would say that, right now it is the state of the economy and what the next 6 or 12 months could look like, from consumer spending to jobs and employees. All those things are keeping me up at night, and it's a bummer, but those are real things. I mean, things are a lot different now.
Are you having vodka pickle juices more than usual?
I am not having vodka pickle juices, but your recipe is pretty good. I think
Thank you.
You can make it a lot better than I could.
Thank you. All right, David from Charleston says, "Will Eric receive Free Fly clothes for free forever?" Oh, that's a terrible. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know how that got in there.
Don't bother me with these questions.
But that's not a bad idea. I mean, because of the publicity you'll get from the show?
If you do this modeling contract we talked about, there's an opportunity.
Perfect. All right, last question. Chastity from Bozeman, Montana. Chastity, when you think of that name, it's not good. But I appreciate you being a listener, Chastity, so I'm just teasing. Can you teach me how to fly fish next time you are in Montana? Do you know a Chastity in Montana?
I don't, but for the right price, anything's possible. No, I still love, that's one of the things. We just got back from Montana, and we're just now getting my 4-year-old super into fishing. So I do enjoy the teaching aspect of it. When I was guiding, I enjoyed other people catching fish as much as I would, because you're part of it. So we'll see Chastity.
All right. So in Chastity, she probably works nights, so she'll have plenty of time during the day to go fishing, fly fishing. Would you ever fly fish at night? Is there?
Yeah. I used to in college. You go fly fishing with like mouse patterns. Like a trout will actually eat a mouse. So it looks like a little mouse. Will you
take me fly fishing?
I'd love to.
Yeah. Where can we do it?
We can
here?
do it here. We go inshore for redfish all the time.
Okay. And then we eat those?
No.
We don't.
We throw them back.
Okay. Can we eat those?
You can.
I feel sorry for. On a last note, I've loved talking to you. First off,
Likewise.
I love Free Fly Apparel, guys. If you have never worn Free Fly Apparel, whether it's their hats, their shirts, their t-shirts, their pants, their shorts, whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. I promise you will become a loyal. What do I want to say? Loyal
customer?
Yeah, okay. Loyal customer after you try one piece. I'm not saying this. I'm telling you this. There's no doubt, because I've never met someone who said, "Oh, I can't stand Free Fly." Everyone loves it when they have tried it. So
Thanks.
For me to like a cap is amazing. But that's not what I was going to say. What bothers me, because both Tanner and I live on Sullivan's Island, which is on the near the there's a beach, are these fishermen that come and fish on the beach,
mm-hmm.
and they get in the way when I'm trying to swim in the ocean, because I have to look out for their thing. And then when they pull in, they're not good fishermen. I'm not, but
mm-hmm.
they're not either.
Yeah.
And then they pull in the fish, and then they can't get the hook out of the fish.
Mm-hmm.
And Kristen's a big fisherman, so she gets this. So when I watch them on the beach, when they're taking the hook out, the fish's mouth is completely. It's almost like they have cut the mouth off. They can't get the hook out, and then the fish is bleeding everywhere. And then instead of why don't you just put it out of its misery and kill it? Like, let it die. It does not want to go back in the ocean. They take it finally out. Blood is gushing out, and then they throw it back in. Like, that fish wants to go and swim and live a life with this hole in its mouth. You know what I mean? Do you see this stuff? It bothers me.
It depends what kind of fish it is for me. I like certain fish other than, some more than others, but I do not like, there's certain places that's like, if you're going by some rocks on the beach or whatever, that's great. But when you're in like one of the main beach stations and you're sitting there on a Saturday afternoon and there's a guy throwing cut mullet in the water and you have to worry about sharks swimming, it's not that fun of a day. But yeah, if whatever you enjoy doing, that's great. But to me, that's not a very enjoyable experience of ripping fish's mouths out.
I honestly, I would just cut the line and let it live with the hook in it. I think that would be more comfortable than what they did to it.
A little lip piercing.
Yeah. So if you are one of those people, don't fish on the beach. You need to go where people aren't around, because we don't want you. But if you're buying free fly, so be it. I guess you can do that, or at least wear it. Do my avid listeners get any kind of discount because you were on the Shrimp Tank?
Well, no is the answer to that question. Our girl's got to go to college.
Okay, I understand. I completely understand. But we'll talk about my discount. David's question earlier about for free clothes forever. Guys, great show today. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Tanner Sutton of Free Fly. Please check out our previous episodes on the various podcast channels, as well as you can watch the video portion of some of these interviews on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, under the search menu, type in The Shrimp Tank Charleston. Our website, where you can also hear the previous episodes, such as Xavier McDaniel, the NBA All-Star, Marquise Ogden, who was a professional football player. This is was like athlete month. Then we're coming out with the episode with Sean Elliott, head football coach. That's coming, and we've had so many great shows, and this is just another one to add to the great shows we've already had, having Tanner and Free Fly. I can't thank you enough for being on. But if you do want to go to the website, it's shrimptankpodcast.com/Charleston. Become a subscriber, fan, or maybe even a guest. If you or your company would like to schedule a call with Double E, my company, to discuss performing an audit on your insurance, financial, or retirement situations, please email us at info@doellc.com. Lastly, if you think you or you know of someone that is an entrepreneur or leader like a Tanner Sutton, which your story is amazing, from one person to what you are now, it's unbelievable. And
Thanks.
To be known in this United States of America, where people know Free Fly, it's unbelievable. To me, that is unbelievable. And to be able to watch people wear your stuff is crazy to me. But making an impact like a Tanner Sutton, then please contact our producer, Kristen Killman, at kk@EDOUBLEELLC.com. I'm Eric Elkins. Thank you, and keep grinding.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. But it's
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, but in real life, I'm an entrepreneur and founder of Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. Double E helps individuals and companies navigate through their financial insurance portfolios. Double E provides clients an entertaining and unique experience. The Shrimp Tank Charleston Show allows us the opportunity to interview and learn from the brightest entrepreneurs and leaders around. We dive into their journey and discover what drove them to become so successful. We will make sure we get out of them not only the wins, but also the losses that they have had on their journey. We are a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com/Charleston, or check us out on the Double E website, doubleellc.com.